Okay, so I'm going to try something a little bit different. I have a bunch of topics in mind that I just haven't been able to fit into a long video. So we're going to burn through them. I'll have multiple videos coming out this week, and more than likely it will go into next week too. Albeit they will be shorter, but they are really interesting topics, and they should be put out into the public consciousness. So to start off, let's talk about a couple current events. We were actually talking about this in the last video. So as you know, Biden warned of food shortages, and this is a perfect way for them to further monopolize the food market and begin to push Bill Gates' lab-grown meat. In fact, Bill Gates came out and said, and I quote, "Rich nations, well, they should switch to 100% synthetic beef." Two things. Number one, what Bill Gates is really saying is, switch to 100% synthetic beef, a process and product that I have patented and plan to produce and sell. And then number two, dummies everywhere say, Bill Gates has no ulterior motives, he's just trying to help. Yeah, I mean, come on, surely it has nothing to do with profit and control. I mean, he is just a guy trying to save the planet, right? The other thing, he says quote unquote rich nations. Now, perhaps, we don't really have to worry about it because at this rate, we are going to end up in a Venezuela type of situation. The dollar is completely effed. You know, I don't know. Who knew the establishment tanking the economy would help us avoid cancer from chemically processed meat? However, check this out. This is from Market Insiders, and I quote, "With the dominance of the US dollar in question, here's how the Chinese yen could become the world's reserve currency, and why it's not all that bad. Yes, this is real, and they aren't even trying to hide it. This is categorically insane, and I don't know, maybe we actually have been infiltrated and taken over by the CCP. There was that one video of the CCP military advisor saying that they have infiltrated every aspect of our society, every institution, and they are at all levels of the US government. Well, I don't think he was joking. It's going to be really hard to convince me otherwise. This is a coordinated collapse of the US economy, and intentionally propping up the CCP system. They are utilizing their system for digital ID, social credit, and are moving to ensure they become the global superpower. This is not a coincidence. You do not want to adopt a CCP system. It's not going to be a situation where, you just switch to their currency and you can go on living your life as if nothing happened. This is not ideal, no matter what the propagandists tell you. Speaking of Bill Gates and collusion with China, if you watched my video about how DNA will be used to surveil the world, well, then you might remember a company called BGI. Well, as it turns out, while the genomics firm that the Bill Gates Foundation funded were mining DNA data through COVID tests, stealing your data via the tests. I mean, we tried telling people, we really did. But that's not all. So just a quick recap. BGI has harvested the DNA of millions and millions of women from around the world. They did this via pregnancy tests that were developed with the Chinese military. And on top of that, they have also been cited as a national security risk via our intel agencies. And yet, they have been rewarded. Now, a few months ago, a former US intelligence official warned that the world's largest biotech firm, a Chinese company called BGI, is trying to collect Americans' DNA for China. And they could use that data to monopolize critical medical supplies. And I quote, "Foreign powers can collect, store, and exploit biometric information from COVID tests." He believes that the CCP are trying to collect Americans' DNA to win a race to control the world's bio data. Well, anyway, hard transition. Biden said this.
Well, I came to congratulate a man who just got reelected without opposition. I dream about that someday.
He literally says that he dreams of an election that has no opposition. Ah, the dream of being a dictator. Who doesn't dream of ruling with an iron fist? Just forget about it. Do not worry about that statement at all. However, let's talk about the Bidens for a moment. Now, for the big tech cult censors, this is from multiple mainstream media outlets. Hunter Biden biofirm partnered with Ukrainian researchers, quote unquote, isolating deadly pathogens, using funds from Obama's Defense Department. Now, I was told that this was just a conspiracy theory, but it gets even more crazy. So let's take a look at a thread on Twitter. Now, I don't know who this guy is, so just keep that in mind. However, this is interesting. So the first one, Metabiota, the company that Hunter secured funding for what he called his science project, has been a longtime partner of EcoHealth Alliance and the USAID Predict project, which sponsored a certain kind of research at a certain institute of something. I'll give you a second to read the tweet, because if I do, the YouTube people are going to get me banned. Now, I'm just going to take a moment so you can read it for yourself. To the people on alt media, I am sorry I have to do it this way, but I think you understand why. Okay, from there, the Metabiota founder sits on the editorial board of EcoHealth, which is Peter Daszak's company. They were involved from the very beginning of gain-of-function research. Well, they say, the central platform for fulfilling the mission of EcoHealth Alliance, and they are a member of DARPA's Advisory Council. Now, the founder of Metabiota was named a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader in 2010. He has received support totaling over $60 million in grants and contracts from Google, the NIH, the National Science Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the U.S. Department of Defense. Now, way back in 2011, Wolf was already pushing novel sources of animal protein, which is, eating bugs, as a way to prevent pandemics. Now, here's a photo of the founder of Metabiota with Ghislaine Maxwell. How cool. It's a real tight-knit circle, isn't it? And Nathan was nice enough to acknowledge Jeffrey Epstein and Boris Nikolic in his book, The Viral Storm. Now, this is a quote from him. Really what my work is about is trying to aim at this objective of achieving the final plague. And another one. I have these massive repositories. I have sites all around the world that are aimed at collecting interesting microorganisms. And then I enter into collaborations with different groups. And yeah, that's pretty interesting, I gotta say. Interesting indeed. Anyway, I'll put a link to this guy's account or this thread in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. There's some interesting stuff in here. All in all, Hunter's connections were useful in getting Metabiota hooked up with United States government officials, including the Ebola czar Ron Klain, who is now Biden's chief of staff. Now remember, at that time when Obama was president, Vice President Biden was the administration point man on Ebola. And well, it really paid off for Metabiota when they got the Ebola contracts. Okay, now we have to go back for a second to the photo of Ghislaine Maxwell with the Metabiota founder. This just reminded me, the US Senate promoted Ghislaine Maxwell's judge to the appellate court. So, if you seal the little black book and make sure that no one can find out any details, that we can't find out who their clients were, well, if you run cover for all the politicians and rich weirdos, well, apparently you get that promotion. Nothing to see here. Anyway, stay tuned for the other videos coming out this week. We have some really insane things to talk about. And later on, we're even going to get into some Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley topics. So there's going to be some really interesting videos coming out. But until next time, if you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you want to, but make sure you disobey those true fascistas. And of course, I hope you have a good night.